What's going on, Lucas? And this is the Niner Fanatic Podcast. What's going on, y'all? It is Peter Lucas, and once again, this is the Niner Fanatic Podcast. Thank you guys for joining me on this football NFL Sunday, and we've got a 49er game. I got my Niner gear on. It's about time to get with our most hated rival, at least from my estimation. The LA Rams. We got the LA Rams going against the 49ers today, and man, it's been a whole lot of it. Honestly, it's been kind of a quieter week on Twitter. I don't know if anybody else felt that way, but for me, it was really a lot more calm. I think that we've kind of I think it's just because we're so confused at this point as to what the plan is, who to blame, who to for our current record. Our current record's 3-4. We got to get to this. We got to get to this bye week for at least 500 in my estimation. We've got to stick our foot in the ground at some point and establish our identity. The Rams are usually a really good get right game for us, and I'm just really interested to see how they come out in this game because I'm going to get into the injuries real quick with you guys, but we've got Eric Armstead's out again. Dre Greenlaw's out again. And Jason Verrett's kind of questionable. I don't know. I guess he's a game time decision. I mean, but we're a couple hours away from the game, and we haven't heard anything yet. So, and maybe we'll hear something as I'm speaking. But it really is. We got a couple of other guys. Juice is out. Juwan Jennings is questionable. Although I don't think, just judging by who they brought up, I saw that they brought Tay Martin and they brought the guy from the Ravens. It was one of those older receivers that probably isn't going to get a lot of playing time, but they brought a couple receivers up, is my point. And it's just it makes me think that Juwan Jennings isn't going to play. And then you got Debo out in this game. Elijah Mitchell is still on injured reserve. Emmanuel Mosley, Kinlaw, McKivitz, Aziz, Trey Lance, Jordan Willis, Kalia Davis, Jordan Matthews, Maurice Horst, all those guys on injured reserve. We haven't talked about them for months, so I'm not going to even bother with it. But as you can tell, we have a lot of injury issues, and we're a hobbled team going into this week right before the bye, this week 8 matchup, and I'm just really concerned with. I'm always concerned when you're 3-4, but I'm really concerned about this offense, and I'm really concerned about what we're gonna see. I've been talking about it all week. Is Kyle going to establish an identity? Is he going to is he going to use Christian McCaffrey and make an actual, put his stamp on this game? I think that a lot of us saw Kurt Warner's, a lot of us saw it on Twitter. I don't know if anybody that's watching this saw that, but Kurt Warner put out something on Twitter. Yeah, I believe it was yesterday. Basically a film breakdown of the 49er offense, and just it was kind of what we thought. I think what we've all the content creators have been saying for the past few weeks is that this team, there's a whole lot of things wrong with this offense. That's what I took from it, is that there's a whole lot of things wrong with this offense. It's a lot of inconsistency. Sometimes there's outs in the game plan. Sometimes there's not. Jimmy sometimes makes a good read and makes a good throw. Sometimes he doesn't. We've got our receivers now that it's on film, guys. Like that sometimes they run a good route, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they don't use their leverage properly. It's really just it's inconsistency, and then on top of it, Kyle, like we've been calling him a genius for so long, and for at least the last what 5 years, we've been calling him an offensive genius, and it showed in this film that he may need some help. He may need some help. Maybe even Andy Reid, who's a genius, who's I consider an offensive genius. Even he has an offensive coordinator calling the plays for them, and he's in there to chime in when he needs to. But I mean, he has an offensive coordinator. So why does Kyle is his ego so huge, and is his I guess his grasp on the team, like his just selfishness to keep it all to him, this offense all to himself, is that so large that he can't just swallow some of his pride and get somebody to help him out? Because I think at this point, what I saw in that film was it's kind of what we thought. We were wondering why Jimmy's kind of like he doesn't know where to go a lot of the time. Sometimes that's the game plan, guys. It's not always Jimmy's fault. Now Jimmy makes a lot of mistakes. We saw that in the film too, but the reality is Kyle leaves something to be desired, especially down in the red zone. The red zone, there's no outs in his routes that he's calling. But I mean, and that's not all the time. Let's make that clear. It's just, but it's inconsistent. It goes right back to that word of inconsistency. So I'm really hoping that it's not that Kyle watched Kurt Warner's breakdown and said, okay, well, now I'm just going to change the way I do things. If you're expecting that, then you're going to be sorely disappointed. But what I'm hoping is that he sees it, that he sees what we saw, and doesn't just say, "Oh, well, there was an open guy over there, so he should have thrown it. He should have hit the open guy when he wasn't even supposed to be looking in that direct. When Jimmy's not even supposed to be looking in that direction. That's not good. That's not good coaching. I'm not gonna slam Kyle because he does a lot of good things. There was also a lot of good things in that video, a lot of good concepts. But it also comes down to these receivers, and we think that we have a whole lot of talent, and they are talented. Absolutely. Debo is a very talented weapon, and so is Ayuk, and so are a lot of these receivers. But I think it's just tightening up, attention to details, making sure that you have the right leverage on the plays where you've got to come inside. You shouldn't be using outside leverage for that. Just simple things like that. Just attention to detail. That's so I think that's what I'm going to be looking for in this game, and it's going to be I want to make sure I give a shout out to Mariah. You guys make sure that you check out her channel. Her and TL are doing, I mean, big things, and they've always got some giveaway going on. So make sure you check out their channel. But those are my family, so appreciate y'all for coming in. And I'm not. Oh, Sneed. She was Willie Sneed. Thank you, Mariah, for reminding me who it was. It was the Willie Sneed's gonna be. He got brought up from the practice squad. So but it's just. But I mean, it's not even really worth mentioning the guy's name. I don't think he's going to get a lot of targets in this game. I keep expecting them not to pass the ball a lot. I keep expecting to see the running game take over, and I've been wrong the last 2 weeks. We've had running backs that have not gotten. We don't have a running back that's gotten 10 carries in the last 2 weeks. To me, that is unacceptable. That's unacceptable behavior for a coach who is always, that's his offense. So why would you go against your identity, especially when it's not worked up to this point? Eventually, we're almost halfway through the season. After this game, we're almost halfway through the season. Why? At what point are you going to get it through your head that you have to, for these players, sake, not just for you, but for these players' sake and their performance. You have to get an identity of a game plan. Your game plan has to be your identity. And you cannot sit there and think that you're just the smartest guy in the room. Oh, and I'm gonna zig and zag all over the place. That's a bunch of nonsense. At some point, like you're going to have to work it out, Kyle. So, but I don't want to be negative. And Damien says, "Hey, what's up, Niner family? Appreciate you, Damien, for coming in. He's always in. I appreciate you, Damien. And but it and if I sound a little exasperated, it's just because we're 3-4. And I was planning on this season, really. I think we all were. We were planning on it being a very good season. But I want to really focus on what we should see. And we should see a heavy dose of CMC, however that looks, whether it be passes out of the backfield, whether it be some outside zone. I really don't want to see him running between the tackles. But however it happens, I want to see CMC get a lot of touches in this game, especially with Debo out, especially with Jawan Jennings maybe being out. I think that you're leaving Brandon Ayuk almost on an island. We got Ray McLeod, but do you really want him being the focal point, or do you just kind of want him being a changeup? I really think that a changeup is more of his style, is more of his, and I'm hoping that we see him used more as a traditional slot receiver, because that's really what I've been missing in this offense, is a traditional guy with the crossers, and letting Ayuk go maybe a little bit more downfield. We also want to see Danny Gray get some touches in this offense, and I don't care. It doesn't have to be a streak play. He doesn't have to go for long passes every time. Let's see some of that speed underneath. Like we want to see the weapons that we have used in a way that they can succeed. Like that's really what it's all about. You have to put them in a position to succeed. And then we've got, but now, hey, curveball that I saw on Twitter yesterday. I think it was yesterday that Jeff Wilson now is on. Somehow sources are saying Jeff Wilson is on the trade block. Like it's just, to me, that's a little overboard. And I get it that they're not going to give up on a TDP, obviously, already. And the running back room is kind of crowded. They're not even using TDP, to be honest. And then they're not even using Jordan Mason, which is another. I guess they thought they could get something for Jeff Wilson, but how much are you going to get for a running back? That's really. I mean, we just saw a guy that was actually producing out of Jacksonville, and him get traded for what, a 6th rounder? Do we need a 6th rounder that bad? I mean, I guess it's a pick is a pick, but Jeff Wilson is a part of the culture in my estimation, and I'm not giving up a part of the culture for a 6th rounder or a 7th rounder for that matter. But yeah, so Damien had a question that what suggestions would you give to Kyle to improve this team? And like I just said, it really comes down to just consistency and really giving your quarterback, even though it's Jimmy and he's probably just telling Jimmy where to go, he's got to give Jimmy outs in these play calls. There was too many times that I saw on that Kurt Warner tape where Jimmy didn't have anywhere to go with the ball. Like there was no if they put pressure and start blitzing 6 and 7 guys, like there was nowhere for him to go to the ball. Now there's going to be somebody that ends up open on the tape, but if you look at it, he was supposed to be looking at this side of the field, and the guy's already coming from his backside. Like he's gonna feel the rush. He's not gonna turn back this way to go look that way. So for people to expect him to do that is I learned a lot. Let's say I learned a lot from that tape. Like that we were expecting sometimes we were expecting a little bit much from Jimmy. Just because a guy's open on the tape doesn't mean that he necessarily should have seen that guy. And so I think that's a main thing takeaway for me, is that they have to give Jimmy some outlets in these play calls, to where if they decide to blitz or they get pressure on him, he's got somewhere to go. And then secondly, Jimmy's got to see it, because there's going to be some times where Jimmy just doesn't see it. So I think both can be true, and I think that's a big issue. But I think that's a main thing that Kyle could do to help Jimmy out. And then the last part is to lean on this running game. You need to lean on this running game to improve this team. Prove this team. And I don't care if they do bottle up. I want to see more outside zone. That was when the 49ers run game was at its best. They were outside zone heavy, and people are going to say, well, they don't have the running backs to do that. Well, would you call Derrick Henry a burner? No, I wouldn't. But they still do a lot of outside zone, because it's just about moving the defensive line and giving your offensive line a chance to get some guys either unawares or at least get them off balance. So outside zone does not mean they have to hit the corner and go upfield. It doesn't mean that. They can get some chunk plays just getting the defensive line off of their spots. So please, like we need to see some I need to see some just common sense football. I think that's a perfect word for it. I want to see some common sense football. And that's what that's really what he can do to fix it. And Damien says, with Elijah Mitchell and CMC's injury history, I wouldn't get rid of Jeff Wilson. Exactly. I mean, why? Unless you're going to go with those younger guys, which Kyle has shown that he doesn't want to go with those guys for whatever reason. We don't really, whether it be pass protection, whatever. He's not saying why, and we don't really know why. We never really know why anything with Kyle, because he doesn't tell us, and then he makes a bunch of he goes against common sense, I would say, a lot of the time. And the way that you would traditionally think of football and what you would do with your best players, he goes against the grain a lot. So I don't want to hammer on Kyle, because I still want Kyle here. I don't think Kyle should be going anywhere, in my estimation. We just want him to learn from his mistakes and get to the point to where he sees his shortcomings and reacts and pivots. Like, I mean, that's the whole point of mistakes, is that you learn from them. And so I like Kyle as a coach. I like this culture that they have in the building. I think that he could just button some stuff up, and it could go a long way with improving this team. But yeah, so with all the injuries, and now the injuries have kind of moved to that offensive side. I wanted to speak on the offensive line a little bit, because there's this common misconception that this offensive line is just terrible, and that this McGlinchey's just terrible. You got Trent Williams that had a bad week last week. We've got people have always been complaining about Brendel, but the reality is this offensive line ain't that bad. I don't know what people are looking at. I think they see pressure coming off from blitzes, or they just see pressure in general, and they think that this offensive line is just terrible because somebody pressured the quarterback. You're not going to stonewall a defense every single down. You're not. It's not going to happen. So you guys just might as well just get used to the fact of seeing it every now and then. There is no offensive line in the National Football League that is not going to give up pressure from time to time. It's going to happen. So I think that we have a good young core in our guard spots. Would I like to see Burford maybe transition to tackle in the future? Maybe, but not this year. I don't want to see it this year. I know that a lot of people are down on Jalen Moore. I would like to see Jalen Moore get more time at the right tackle spot and start getting trained up for the right tackle spot, because McGlinchey, to me, at least I will give this to McGlinchey. He owned up to his issues in this past week. I don't know if everybody saw it, but Joe Staley called him out in the media, which is weird because they're buddies. But yeah, McGlinchey owned up to it, and kudos to him for owning his mistake. Now let's see what the difference makes on this week. In this week, Did he try a little harder in practice? Did he work on his technique? Is it going to be a better product? Because if he recognizes it and he doesn't try to fix his issues, then that's a problem, and I wouldn't want him back at that point on this team that the next season. But for right now, I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt that he's trying to work on some of his issues, and I'm really interested. I'll be looking this week's game and to see what happens with that. Like uh Damian says I'd trade McGlinchey for a two-piece at Popeyes. I mean, last week for sure, for sure, I would agree with you, bro. Like it's really just it's sad because we picked him in the first round and that he looks good a majority of the time, but then McGlinchey always has that moment in the worst possible moment that where he just has there's no other word for it. He has a brain fart, or he has a moment where he just can't get right. He has a can't get right moment. But yeah, I mean, if I thought that the 49ers could get anything for him, I would say go ahead with that. And I would say try Jalen Moore out at that right tackle spot, in my estimation. But it it is what it is. I don't think the 49ers are going to do that. And I like to stay in reality. And I like to keep it to the point to where I like to keep my head on straight and not wish for things that I know just are not going to happen. But hey, and Damian said something that I really appreciate you. You have a good podcast. Keep doing what you, man. I'm trying. I'm trying. Like I get on as much as I possibly can. I try to give you guys as much content as I possibly can. I try to get on other people's shows. I try to get it. I just want to get better. I'm just trying to get better every day, bro. Just like I'm asking McGlinchey to do, that's what we do. And we're just trying to get better. But I appreciate you for coming on. I appreciate all the people that end up watching this video. And it's just, or listening to it on the audio version, because I will be uploading it to all the, where everywhere where you can get podcasts, your video, your audio podcasts. So, but yeah, so the offensive line, I really think they get a bad rap, and I can't wait to see what they do with CMC. He's the X factor. Obviously, they brought him in. They've spent a bunch of capital to bring him in. You're not going to spend that capital without doing something. You better not. They better not have spent that draft capital to bring him in and be a change of pace guy. Like that should not be. It should be Debo, CMC. Those should be your main pieces, in my estimation, because you just spent a whole bunch of money on Debo, and then you've got Ayuk, who's up and coming. And honestly, if we had a better quarterback, he would be more of a factor. But until they get Trey in here, we see what that is as far as the passing game goes. I feel like Ayuk's just got to get in where he fits in. And if he can get some, great. If not, I want to trust in CMC and Debo. That's how I look at it. I do the trade, but Popeyes need to pick up the rest of this contract. Yeah, for real. Like I don't want to pay for it. I don't want to pay for nothing. Like I'm the same way. That $6 box be fire sometimes though. But so now let's talk about the defense a little bit, because I'm planning on just making this podcast a little over 30 minutes. I just want to really give you guys a pregame and some things to be looking for in this game. This defense is hurt, y'all. This defense is hurt. We lost Emmanuel Mosley a few weeks ago. Honestly, Mooney Ward is not healthy either. Those groin injuries, when they happen, they linger, and it's going to linger. Bosa got a groin injury. That's going to linger. Like, I know that they're not on the injury report, but you cannot tell me that they got a groin injury that they don't feel every time they get out there for practice or for the game. Groin injuries take a long time to heal, and it's going to be really I'm really interested to see what D'Amico is going to do in this game, because I think that we're going to see more of a defense that we saw last season, where they were playing a lot of off coverage and trying to keep those deep shots from happening. And I don't know what mix up of cornerbacks that we're going to see, but I have a feeling we're going to have a Dante Johnson sighting. We're probably going to have. We're probably. I want them to find a way to get Ambry out there because we're gonna need him at some point, unless they're going to trade for another cornerback, which I know Dante Jackson is out there from Carolina. I saw another guy that Jesse Naylor tweeted out about today, and I'm trying to remember what the guy's name was, but I can't remember. But it's just another. It was another like mid cornerback, but it's better than what we got, and it'll give us some size at the position, and that's really the important thing. They've got to be able to. I think that we have slot corners trying to guard on the outside, and that's not a recipe for success. Now, Jason Verrett is questionable. I don't think he's going to play. In my estimation, I don't think he's going to play. And if he does play, I don't know that what we can expect out of him. I continue to say that about him, but I just wouldn't put any of my faith in that. But another important injury in this game is Dre Greenlaw's out. Now, not that the Rams have an offensive line or that they have any kind of running game to speak of. Darrell Henderson can do you dirty from time to time, but realistically speaking, they have no offensive line. So this should help out the 49ers dramatically. It should, because we lean on our defense. And this could be a chance for them to just get a breath, this defense to get a breath and just cruise through this game instead of feeling pressure just constant like last week against Mahomes. They just didn't get a chance to breathe because Mahomes was just picking them apart. And but we got Matthew Stafford this week, who likes to throw the ball up for grabs. It might be a perfect opportunity for our secondary to get some momentum and get some confidence in what they're doing out there. So be on the lookout for that. I really want to see this defensive line take advantage of the fact that the Rams have no offensive line. Now, the Rams do have a defense, and I did not mention the fact that their defense is not that it's world beating, but they're gonna get pressure. I mean, Aaron Donald's going now. Traditionally, Aaron Donald hasn't done anything against us, but for the most part, unless it was in the playoffs. But the reality is they're really missing Von Miller in my estimation. And here's my boy Nate. If you ever catch us on the Odd Couple podcast together, be on the lookout for that. It's also a podcast that's on my channel. But Nathan is one of the best Ram fans that you will probably. He's the most true Ram fan I've ever met on the planet. So be on the lookout for that. But Nate says, "Oh, here we go," because he knows you ain't here to save him right now, Nate. It is what it is. Their defensive line isn't going to be as good missing Von Miller. Floyd, I don't think is as good. Not that I don't think he's definitely not as good, but they don't get as much pressure as they have in the past. Also, I think that the linebacker that they got from Seattle, and now I can't think of his name, but it's just that the linebacker that they got from Seattle, and he helps a lot in the run game, but I don't see him helping in the pass rush, and I think that's a big thing for their defense, because you've got the one corner, the other corner. They got Troy Hill coming back this week, I believe I saw, but I don't think that the 49ers, corners don't really matter against the 49ers. I know that people get excited about because they see all the weapons. We got Kittle and we got Ayuk and we got all these guys, but the reality is the way Kyle does his scheme, he doesn't he doesn't go right at people. He doesn't go right at corners. That's not the way this offense is usually designed. Now we don't know what he's thrown the ball 35 plus times the last two weeks. So honestly, I don't know what's going to happen in this game. But in the past, he doesn't key in on cornerbacks. Like if they've got Ramsey over here, they're not going to key in on the other cornerback and go up against that matchup. They just don't do it. Kyle has always been thinking that his scheme is going to put that defense in a bind because of what that defensive player is responsible for. He's going to attack that. He's going to attack their responsibilities. And sometimes it looks great, sometimes it doesn't. But I'm interested to see it because this goes either way. This could go either way as far as this could be a get-right game for the 49ers, and it can also be a get-right game for the Rams. So what we don't want is for the Rams to all of a sudden have a winning record. And that puts us kind of behind in the division, even though we've only got one loss in the division at that point. But it could really hurt us in the standings. So we need this could go either way, but we need a victory, guys. We need a victory. And I'm gonna cut it short in about 2 seconds, but I just want to reiterate the need. I need you guys to send all your good vibes, out there. And because we need it. We need this. The 49ers need this game, and it's got to be going forward. They've got to at some point be able to stick their foot in the ground, establish that identity like I talked about earlier, and so that they can move forward with this season and have some bit of confidence going into the bye, and then coming out of the bye have confidence in that identity. That's it's really about their mental right now, because we've all seen what happens when teams start losing. They just lose confidence, and it can really just make your season just spiral. So, but with that being said, I appreciate all you guys. I appreciate Nate coming in, and he says he agreed on the pass rush. He's waiting for them to sell Akers. 2 first rounders. 2 first rounders and our logo for Brian Burns in Carolina. Okay. They said that they don't want to give up Brian Burns. They've said it over and over again. And honestly, I wanted the defensive tackle they got, Derek. I believe it's Derek Smith. But yeah, that's who I wanted from them, because we need help on the interior. But and then Bobby Wagner. I don't know how I forget Bobby Wagner's name, but yeah, he says he's been solid but not spectacular. And that's exactly my point. It's just that he's not going to really. It's not that he's going to. He's really good against the run, but he's not going to help you in your pass rush. So, and he's not going to help you in pass coverage either. So, but with that being said, I'm going to get out of here. I'm getting ready I'm going to start getting ready for this game. I got to walk my puppy, and then I've got to get in the right mind frame to maybe not see what I want to see. But I appreciate all of you guys for coming in, and I appreciate all of you guys for listening, for watching. I want to make sure that you tell somebody and tell them to tell somebody about the podcast. Make sure that we grow this channel. Make sure that you give me a like. Make sure that you ring that bell for the notifications. Do whatever you got to get this podcast in your phone or wherever you listen to your stuff, but just get it. All right. But hey, thanks to everybody for coming in, and you guys have a great day, but always go Niners.